The King is in Scotland to mark Holyrood Week. It's the first time he's visited Scotland since his crowning, and whilst his diary may be jam-packed with engagements, one stands out. Dubbed his second coronation, the King will be presented with the honours of Scotland, that's Scotland's crown jewels, in a lavish Thanksgiving service at St Charles Cathedral in Edinburgh. The event will be marked with an RAF flypast, gun salute and a procession up the Royal Mile. Now, a new ceremonial sword has even been commissioned to the tune, my friends, of £22,000. But the question tonight, and I'm a royalist, is in a cost of living crisis, do we really need a second coronation? I want to start with Robert Jobson, who has joined Alec. And Robert, thank you for that. Is this going to be a big spectacle? How will it compare? And from your point of view, is a second one bearing in mind what's going on in our world? Is it slightly tone deaf?
It's a bit after the Lord Mayor's show, I think, yeah. But I think, to be honest, if there hadn't been some form of ceremony in Scotland, there'd be a lot of people saying, well, why isn't there some, the form of ceremony in Scotland? Because, there had been the Queen's funeral, and the Queen did the similar thing in '52 when she became monarch. So I think, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. I think that actually, given, when that sword, for example, £22,000 commissioned, and, it's a lot of money. The last one's falling apart.
Yeah.
1507, they were given it by the Pope. So, there are examples of why there should be this. But my personal view is I think that given where we are, it isn't necessary.
It's very interesting. Alec, I know, and I'm going to ask you, because you were invited, why is there one in Scotland? Is there, and call me ignorant, is there going to be a coronation in Wales and Northern Ireland as well, or is it just Scotland? And if so, why?
No, it's a sop to the Scots. And the Queen's receiving of Her Majesty the late Queen's receiving of the honours of Scotland in 1953 was one of the very few missteps of her reign, incidentally. So this is just a sop. Now, you know my position, Jeremy. I think when Scotland becomes independent, we should have an elected head of state. I think we should start with a new constitution for a new country, not on the hereditary principle. That's my view. But as long as we have a king, you should do things properly. And if they wanted a ceremony, then have a proper coronation.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Have a proper coronation at Scone. The last Scottish monarch, the last King of Scots, who was coronated in Scotland in 1651 was Charles II. So why not do what he did? And listen, he was on the run from Cromwell's dragoons at the time. So if you could manage a proper coronation when you're getting pursued by Oliver Cromwell, then I think you could manage one now.
Well,
so
maybe you should advise when William becomes king, because of course then you're going to get the first king in Scotland who's King of Scotland actually related directly to the Stuarts.
Well, I don't think there'll be a new King Billy incident.
Why did you turn down an invitation?
Well, I turned it down politely. I wouldn't have spoken about it if I hadn't been asked directly by the press. So the press asked me, so I told the truth. I turned it down civilly and politely because I don't think you should have a second-class ceremony. And if you're and spend £22,000 on a new sword of Scotland, this 500-year-old sword, the sword of Scotland, given by Pope Julius, the warrior Pope, to James IV, is a magnificent element of history. It's real history. You don't sort of make up some sort of £22,000 replica. I mean, Charles is not short of swords.
It's very interesting, Alec, isn't it? And actually, I was interested by Robert's reaction, because surely if we learn anything from this, when William becomes king, it should be a coronation for all, incorporating all. But he's right in that, I mean, you started by saying, this is showing respect to Scotland. If he hadn't done it, he'd have been slagged off. But if he is doing it, he's being told it's too much money.
This is neither fish nor fowl. It wouldn't satisfy anyone. No. I mean, a proper Scottish royalist would want a proper coronation. A Scottish Republican doesn't want anything to do with it.
And a cost of living crisis. Let's not be tone deaf. I think that's relevant, isn't it?
I will have to tell you one thing for Germany. The honours of Scotland, the Scottish crown jewels, the crown, the sceptre, they are substantially older than the mere baubles in the Tower of London. They are the second oldest. So, I
don't know why you've ever had anything to do with this, to be honest.
Well, I know, but I'm just having a...
But you have changed on this, haven't you, Alex? I mean, you used to say that the Scots shouldn't shouldn't get rid of the monarchy.
Oh, Robert,
you have changed your perspective.
Yeah,
but I understand why.
Changed with a change of monarch.
Is it anything to do with that last poll that said that you'd be the first president?
No, I was...
listen, I
55%, and then there's Nicola Sturgeon, 35%. Andy Murray, only 3%.
I was up against Pierre Morgan, so I was bound to win. So
And Nicola Sturgeon was second.
Well, some way behind.
How is she?
I'm not...
You had 55%.
I've got a question.
Last time you asked me that question, that was the longest non-answer in history.
Will you accept the sword if you
raised
become
an
president?
Well, you need to do more than raise an eyebrow, because here's a killer question. And a serious question from me that wasn't written down. Will Nicola Sturgeon be invited to this?
Well, she hasn't consulted me. Let's put it that way. So
it's interesting with what's going on, whether she'd be asked or not.
She should be invited. I mean, even protocol was followed, and she would be invited.
I'd be locking away the silver if I invited
going
her.
to turn up or not, your guess is as good as mine.
King Charles III's coronation cost an estimated 100 million quid. Does the King need another one in Scotland? Yes, 18%. No, 82%. Quite interesting. Tricia, no. He spent and cost us enough. Jennifer, why would he have one in Scotland? His coronation was for the whole of the UK and the Commonwealth. Interesting,
Yeah,
Carl.
but remember the Scottish crown, it was only, united under James VI of Scotland.
Listen, I agree.
James
Think of the
I,
multiple millions the coronation brought into our country. The Scottish coronation is a historical tradition and will help. MJ says, I thought we were supposed to be scaling back. That's the anomaly in all of this.
Listen, if you'd had... look, from the royalist perspective, if you'd had a proper coronation at Scone, it'd have been the first since Charles II. If you'd had a coronation at Scone, the ancient place where kings and queens of Scotland were coronated, then it'd be the first since the 13th century, including the Stone of Destiny.
Yeah.
That's real history.
If you
wouldn't look, the problem with the people who advise Charles is they love pomp because they like to be part of it, but they don't understand circumstance, what really matters.
But would
History
he have been
matters.
advised more by the Scottish government on this?
No, it'll be as...
It's about the money.
The usual aristocratic flunky.
Hums are useless.
No, let's be fair. I don't think
Hums are useless.
Would have been the main advisor in this. I think you've got a whole range of aristocratic flunkies who like being part of a ceremony.
Interesting taking your point, Robert, at the beginning. I think you're damned if you don't. You're going to upset somebody along the way. I think he's done quite a good job. I just wonder, if you achieve in your lifetime your dream of independence, will you still see Charles as your head of state? But no, that will go.
Well, let's put it this way. I think Charles will be the last King of Scots.
That's interesting. Robert Jobson?
I think with William, with his Stuart line, director James II will be the King of Scotland. Yeah.
It's very interesting, though.
I had a King Billy before. It didn't work out.
King Billy.
Well. That is true, but it's either that or Nicola Sturgeon or Alex. I mean, I know who I'd vote for.
I'd vote for Alex Salmon every day.
But, I mean,
we've ended on a matter of agreement then.
But will you wear the sword, and what will you do with the new sword?
Well, I mean, see, this is the difference. I mean, look, apart from being an economist, once upon a time I studied history, and history really matters to me. Yeah. And what I present is people saying, oh, we're not going to have the 500-year-old magnificent sword of Scotland that really means something because we think it's in disrepair. We're going to invent a new one at 22,000 quid. No disrespect to the artisans who crafted it, but in the middle of a cost of living crisis,
but one thing that has changed,
final word, quick.
We talked about Wales. Very unlikely we're going to get that sort of show again that we saw in '69, where the Prince of Wales was made Prince of Wales with a big ceremony.
Yeah.
Very unlikely it's going to happen with William. So I think things will be changing.
Very interesting. And those two undoubtedly off for a drink, all three.